Welcome to Fit Strong Women Over 50, episode 53. Hi, I'm Chris.
And I'm Jill. Thanks for joining us today.
Yes, we're thrilled that you're here, and we use this podcast as part of the Becoming Ellie community.
So if you're wondering why it's Becoming Ellie, it's because Ellie was the Norse goddess of aging, and she beat Thor in a wrestling match, much to everyone's amazement. And Chris and I thought, hey, now that's pretty cool. We want to be like Ellie, able to, I don't want to say beat up strong men at a moment's notice, but we want to be fit and strong.
Right, carry my own groceries in. And you've mentioned before, when you're traveling, put the luggage in the overhead compartment without,
yes,
struggling too much.
That is just really being able to take care of yourself is a good goal.
Yes. And we're finding more and more women over 50 are interested in this and following us. So if you're listening to the podcast and you know someone who might be interested, share the podcast with them.
Yes, please. Also, those of you who have been buying some of the Becoming Ellie attire, thank you. And if you have bought it, feel free to send us a photo of yourself wearing your hoodie or t-shirt or whatever, or post it on our Facebook page. That would be great. We'd love to see the Becoming Ellie out there in the world.
Yeah, and if you don't do Facebook, we also have Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, and if you would like your own Becoming Ellie attire, you can find the link to that on our website, which is becomingellie.com.
Yeah, just click on the word store. So today I was hoping that we would talk about vegetables because I'm still working on my veggie challenge. How about you, Jill?
I am too. I think of the veggie challenge a lot, even though we're not sort of officially doing it anymore, I guess, since it's 2020. But I am still working on trying to get more vegetables into my diet or finding new ways to use the vegetables that I normally eat.
Yeah, I think of it as tricking myself into eating more vegetables. And I did something the other day that worked out, but I think I still need a little more work about it. It's called my Veggie Blender Dressing. And I used some vegetables that were in my refrigerator, carrots, squash, and green pepper. And I put them in the blender along with my usual liquid, the extra virgin olive oil, apple cider vinegar, and lemon juice, mixed up that into a dressing and poured it over a large bowl of spring mix that had all kinds of different lettuces and greens in it. And it was actually quite good. In fact, it might be really good warm, too. I'm going to try that one time.
Carrot, peppers.
Green peppers.
Green peppers and squash?
Yeah, yellow squash.
Yellow squash, okay.
A large carrot, not those little tiny ones.
Yeah.
And then a large green bell pepper, I guess you say. Yeah. And it was actually quite good. And the whole thing was vegetables. You know how like sometimes the dressing, just adds a whole lot of calories that aren't really good for you. And so I'm on a quest to try to figure out how to make a dressing that I really love that is a lot of vegetables. So it adds to it.
What about adding like a clove of garlic to that?
Yeah, I'm not a huge garlic fan, although most people are. My husband loves garlic so much so when he cooks, it's like a vegetable. And I just kind of OD on garlic on his side, so I never add it when I'm cooking. Okay. But you know what? I think it probably would add to the flavor.
Yeah. So if you were a garlic eater, maybe throw in a clove of garlic.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds really good. That's a great idea.
Yeah, and it's all raw vegetables, which I think give you more nutrition than cooked vegetables.
Right. I think that depends on the vegetable, but yes,
that's
pretty cool. So this is a more traditional idea, but I made cabbage soup the other day, and I basically used the vegetables that were in my refrigerator. So, it was cabbage, carrots, onion. I had a can of diced tomatoes and green beans. So I chopped it all up, threw it in the pot with a bunch of stock. I use chicken broth. If you're vegetarian or you have vegetable stock around, that would work too. Well, I guess you could use beef as well, but at any rate. But I made it I added a lot more liquid to the vegetables than I might normally. So then I froze a bunch, but each serving of it, I was able to add things to it depending on what was in my refrigerator. So like one time I added beans and some greens. And another time I had, some cooked chicken. So I just shredded up some chicken, threw that in there. And whatever was in my, so I had some zucchini. I chopped that up and sort of just sauteed it a little bit before I threw it in the soup. So it was cooked a bit. The only thing I can say that didn't work real well was I added spinach one time. And because the cabbage and everything is such a hearty soup, the spinach was a little too light. So I think if I was going to throw green in there, something like kale would have been better. And the other thing you could add in there is some potatoes or sweet potatoes. So I liked it. It's great. I have a bunch of it in the freezer in small containers, so it makes for a nice lunch or dinner for me. And I just doctor it up each time, so I have like a different kind of soup. That's great. So you use it kind of as a base. Yeah. So with lots of cabbage and then whatever else was there. But in my case, I had, and celery too. Celery, carrots, onion, the tomato, I think, and the green beans. I had I had a bunch of fresh green beans, so I chopped them up and threw them in the soup. If I didn't have them, I wouldn't have added it. But boy, that sounds good. Yeah. And then I just each time added something to make it, so you could make it sort of like more of an Italian soup. Add some beans, put some Italian spices or oregano on it. Maybe sprinkle some Parmesan cheese on top. Yeah. There you go. Or you can go with more of a chili kind of or TexMex thing with some taco seasonings and some maybe black beans and some grated cheese on top. I don't know. There are lots of different options, which I like. So it's easy. It's got lots of vegetables in it, and then you can add more vegetables to it and make it into whatever you want. Yeah, that sounds great. That when you said Tex-Mex, it reminded me of another recipe that my sisters have shared with me, and I plan on using soon, and that's called Cowboy Caviar. Have you ever heard of that? Not at all. Well, it's similar to what I call my no panic potluck salad. That's where we chop up all the vegetables, add a little oil and vinegar to it. And it's a lot like that, but the difference is they have beans in it, black beans and black-eyed peas. Oh. And then there's some sweet corn in it. I don't think I'd put as much sweet corn in it as I see on the recipes online, but, the bell pepper, 3 different colors of pepper, diced red onion, and jalapeno adds that kick to it. And then avocado, if you like the creaminess, chopped avocado. But again, it has my same base of, olive oil. Instead of lemon juice, it's lime juice and apple cider vinegar. But they add chili powder and garlic powder in there with salt and pepper. So it's similar to what you were talking about, Tex-Mex. I think some people call it Texas caviar too. Okay. I've seen it as Cowboy Caviar. But another good way to get veggies in there along with some protein with the beans, Right. And then the great thing about all of these is that you really can use whatever is available to you. So it's not like every time you go to do something, you have to go to the grocery store to buy a certain vegetable. And that's my kind of cooking. Yeah, what do I have in the refrigerator in the pantry? Right. Well, some of this stuff is just like sort of basic pantry thing that I think if you're going to be making anything with vegetables, you're going to want to have some onion and bell peppers and carrots and celery lying around. Yeah. Right. Well, and it's fast and easy. There's no cooking involved. You just chop things. Right. So here's my new vegetable to me, and my doctor suggested that I try to eat more bitter greens. Oh. So she said, if making a salad, throw arugula in there. Okay. And that kind of thing. But one of the ones she suggested was dandelion greens. So I went to the grocery store, and can you believe that the regular old grocery store actually has dandelion greens in it? I didn't have to go to a special. I thought the world is a changing place when you can go into the grocery store and buy dandelion greens.
Wow. Well, my yard is full of dandelions. Is that the same thing?
Yeah, they smell just like dandelions from when I was a kid and would sit in the grass and, play with dandelions. Yeah, wow. It is, but they're huge. So they're obviously grown. Well, no one is spraying junk on them. Well, yeah. So that would be the thing about picking dandelions out of your yard. If anyone puts fertilizer or weed killer or anything down, you sure don't want to be eating the dandelion greens.
Yeah, no, you have to be real careful of that.
Yes, but they are indeed the same thing, but someone obviously is cultivating them because they're big. Now, those would not be things that you could keep as like a stock item, because my observation is that they don't last all that long. They wilt. They start, and yeah, they get not good.
So how do you use them? Just as a salad, just in the salad, or you cook them?
So I have used them in a salad. I would probably not make a whole salad based on dandelion greens because they are indeed bitter.
Okay.
So I have added them in with other things like spinach and mixed greens, and just make it part of the mixed green because they do have a strong flavor. You can cook them, and I would think just like any other green, with some oil, fat, butter, or something, whatever you use, and a little bit of maybe vinegar or something tart with them. Mm-hmm. And then just wilt them, and you could eat them that way. I tried them in a smoothie, and they're bitter, so they did change the taste of the smoothie considerably.
Yeah.
But they're kind of cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have this memory from childhood, but I remember, because you'd sit in the grass and you'd pull the dandelions and blow the seeds all over. My father must have hated that, because now that I think about it, because, dandelions were the scourge of the suburban lawn. And, you'd remember making a wish by blowing on the dandelion?
Yes. So, oh, yeah. They're so pretty. They're so pretty.
So the smell, it really did to me, the smell of the dandelion leaves when I got them home and I started sort of chopping them up, they really did remind me of my childhood.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
And there's something about the bitterness that is good for your digestion or immune system?
Yeah, that was it. I was having some
issues.
Yeah, I was having some issues, and she's also she said it would be so when I actually looked into it, so the bitter greens are just packed full of nutrients that are good for you, and they also help with your digestive system. And I think the bugs in your bioderm, in your gut, they like there's stuff in the bitter greens that they like. So it was a good way to encourage, like the ones that I was trying to encourage to increase in me.
Right.
I really can't say exactly why it was so important to eat bitter greens, but I found arugula microgreens, and I bought those and been throwing those on my salad.
Cool. Well, that reminds me, I talked with Diane Ruther, who we interviewed a year and a half ago, who actually got us started on the Veggie Challenge. And I wanted to add that to this podcast. I talked to her about some bitter melon. So let's just listen to that real quick, and then we'll come right back. So I'm with Diane Ruther, who last year challenged us to try some new vegetables. And we were talking today. She tried some really amazing new things, and I wanted to share that with the folks on the Fit Strong Women Over 50 podcast. So welcome back, Diane.
Thank you very much.
So tell me a little bit about these. Are they fruits or vegetables?
Well, this one is a vegetable. It's called bitter melon, and we think of melon as something sweet that you would put in a fruit salad. This one is not that. It is a very unusual looking, spiny looking, long, poddish looking thing. I'm not exactly sure how to describe it. It's green, and you cut it open. There are big seeds inside that you have to get rid of. You don't eat those seeds.
So you cut it lengthwise.
I did cut it lengthwise. I followed pictures on a YouTube video on how to cook this thing. And then after you get rid of the seeds, and you slice it, and then it needs to be parboiled because it's called bitter fruit for a reason. Mm. It's bitter.
And parboil means you just boil it while it's simmering?
You throw it into boiling water for a minute or two and take it out. And then I put it in an ice bath to stop the cooking. I wanted it a little bit crunchy when I put it in my stir fry.
Gotcha.
So then, I stir fried it with onions and carrots. And the sauce I put on had some soy sauce and maple syrup. I wanted a little sweetener to kind of counteract the bitterness.
All that bitter, yeah.
Yeah. It was not my favorite.
No?
My husband ate it. He's like, I eat whatever you put on my plate, but that's him.
So a lot of minerals and vitamins in it?
It's supposed to be very good for your immune system.
Oh,
and that's why I tried it.
That's an important thing now.
I'm thinking with all the viruses and things.
Sure.
Yeah, anytime. But yeah, I thought, well, I'll give it a try. This is probably the first vegetable that I've ever tried that I wouldn't eat again.
Oh, wow.
I have loved every vegetable that I've eaten.
I feel like this is a challenge. Like I want to figure out a way to make it so it's a little yummier, but anything that's autoimmune or immune system is good.
Yes. And
not autoimmune.
There may be, I don't know, things online, other ways to cook it.
Mm-hmm.
I did talk to my son who loves to cook and has cooked a lot. He said he's never been successful with bitter melon either.
Oh, geez. Well, this is truly a challenge.
It is a big challenge.
Your son tried it, and he didn't have success, so that sounds like a real challenge.
So it does. I would love to hear from someone who has cooked bitter melon and found it to be something a little more palatable.
Yeah.
I did read on a number of websites that it's an acquired taste.
Okay.
And so maybe that's how it is.
Well, that's how I felt about Brussels sprouts. I didn't used to like Brussels sprouts, and now I love them. And, I mean, seriously, I couldn't eat them. So, who knows?
And sometimes it's how they're prepared.
Now, where did you find this bitter melon?
I found this bitter melon at an Indian market across the street from a traditional grocery store.
Okay.
I love the people in there because whether it's a customer or an employee of the store, they are very helpful to people who don't know things.
Yeah.
I mean, some things are very obvious. An onion is an onion, but I had never seen a bitter melon before. And so I'm like, what is this and how do you cook it? And
right. And they helped you figure it out.
And they helped you figure it out and suggested I go online, which I thought was very helpful.
It looks like there's white, red, and yellow. And maybe that's the red one scooped out is the yellow.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So on the outside it's green, a very vivid Kelly green color. For some reason, one was white on the inside and one was more red on the inside. I have
Did they
no
have
idea.
different tastes or they both tasted the same?
They tasted the same.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Well, thanks for sharing this with us. I'm always looking for another vegetable.
Yes. My next...
Especially something healthy.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, that was kind of interesting. I'm not sure she loved her bitter melons that much, but it sounds like bitter is a good thing for your body. And so she's going to try to find a better way to cook it than how she cooked it, I think. It's a challenge, the bitter challenge now.
Yeah, that's interesting because that's sort of my observation with the dandelion greens is I need to sort of experiment with what's the best way to actually, you want them to be as delicious as anything else that you eat.
Right, right. Well, I like arugula. I've gotten used to it over the years, but when I first ate it, I thought it was way too bitter. But now, I guess from eating it more, things change on your taste buds as you eat them more. Well, I'm wondering if any of our listeners have some experience with bitter vegetables and if they'd be willing to share that with us. You could leave a message on our voicemail. We have phone number 330-970-6662. We'd love to hear about your experiences with bitter vegetables if you're willing to share that with us.
Oh, that'd be great. Or you can post it on our website, a comment, or any of the other social media. So, when I was saying about going into the grocery store and that the dandelion greens were right there, the other thing that I've noticed is that there's lots of vegetables now that are riced or noodleized that you can buy. And did you tell me did you try the cauliflower crust for
Well,
pizza?
It's funny. I've tried a couple different things. And, my first experiences with the cauliflower crust, I didn't get it right. And so my homemade cauliflower crust needs a lot of work. I haven't shared any of that yet. But I did try 2 store-bought pizzas that were cauliflower crust. And I thought, well, gee, this tastes great. This doesn't seem like anything different. Then looking closer at the ingredients, they use rice flour. So it's not totally cauliflower. The recipes that I had used egg and riced cauliflower as the ingredients and a little bit of Parmesan cheese. I'm still working on mine before I'm ready to share it. And I'm thinking maybe once I really do get it, maybe Jill, you and I can even film a video of trying it. I think that'd be fun.
That'd be good. So you bring up a good point. There's one thing I've noticed with a lot of these things that you can buy pre-made is they still are prepared foods, and you really do have to read the ingredients so you know what you're getting, because I have seen a lot of different cauliflower crust pizzas in the grocery store, but that's a good point. And that's fine if you don't care that it has rice flour in, but you just need to be aware of what you're eating.
Right. I did try some riced cauliflower just by cooking some things with the basic celery, olive oil, onions, and green pepper. And then I added the riced cauliflower, but to sort of balance it out, I also put in some green olives. And I have that recipe on my one of the blog posts on Becoming Ellie. I'll link to that as well.
Okay.
You know, I think adding things to some of these healthy vegetable challenges really helps, but you've got to find the right mixture. And I'm still struggling with that, you know.
Now, I made something with riced cauliflower, and I used coconut milk when I heated it. So almost like if you were doing coconut rice, but I used the riced cauliflower, and I heated it with, I don't know, a cup of or half a cup something of the coconut milk. Now, it doesn't really absorb it like regular rice, but it did absorb some of it, and it was delicious.
Well, that's good to know. Maybe I'll try that.
Yeah, it was really good.
Cool.
So I guess besides the bitter greens and bitter fruit, if our listeners have any other advice on making cauliflower crust or riced cauliflower or your favorite soup recipe, we'd sure love to hear it.
We're trying to get more vegetables in, so... Well, I'm looking forward to our next podcast.
Yep.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye-bye.